Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Everything Went Black. I'm hitting you guys with a solo episode of something I'm going to try to do this every year. I'm going to start the year off with a list of goals for the oncoming year. And at the end of the year, I'm probably going to do an episode as a year closeout to review which ones I've hit and which ones I haven't. And I urge everyone listening, especially you guys over on Patreon, to maybe follow suit, and we can compare notes, and you guys can comment, give me ideas about what you guys are trying to get done this year, and all that kind of stuff. But before we get started, I just want to shout out the rest of the Horsemen, part of this collective of elite media producers on the internet. Of course, I'm referring to the Horsemen of the podcasting apocalypse. Now, that group includes, starting out the week, Brandon Legion's Horror Wolf 666. Brandon focuses on interviewing writers, directors, filmmakers, actors, and occasionally one of us that centers around the horror movie industry. And it's primarily interviews, and sometimes we all get together and do our lists of top films. We reflect on a specific movie. Brandon and I did a Predator episode a little while back, which was a lot of fun. Next up is Jackie Smith's Into the Necrosphere, which is literally the only heavy music related podcast that I listen to on a regular basis. I also check out the Heavy Hole podcast, Big Will's rundown of all things brutal. And I was recently a guest on that, which is a lot of fun. And I'm going to have Will on the podcast over here. He's a incredible death metal singer, and hopefully we can trade off episodes on each other's shows in the coming months. Wednesday, of course, is Everything Went Black, which is today. I return on Thursday alongside Mike Scandato and Jeff Kashid for Necromaniacs, which if you guys are listening to this episode of Everything Went Black, you probably are familiar with Necro. Friday, Spitball Media, brought to you by Mike's brother, John Draper. It's sort of an irreverent current events sort of podcast. However, they do talk about movies, which is kind of cool. Saturday's a day off. Go out, enjoy yourself. I certainly try to enjoy myself on Saturdays, take a day off. Sunday, Carl Hikara comes at you with Soul Knocks. Carl also is on a two episode a week schedule. He also drops episodes on Thursdays. Soul Knocks focuses on all things dark and esoteric and macabre. Currently, we are full force into our Darkness Weaves collaboration, which Carl and I are doing. We are digging deep into the catalog of Carl Edward Wagner, a relatively obscure horror and dark fantasy writer. And right now, we're deep into the Kane stories. So definitely check that out. They're a lot of fun, especially if you're a fan of horror and dark fantasy. Out in the void, deep in the abyss, comes Iblis Manifestations, brought to you by Cheyenne of the great band Trivax. And if you guys checked out my episode recently on Into the Necrosphere, where we run down the top bands, where we run down the top records of 2023, you'll know that Eloah Burns Out, which is the latest Trivax record, features heavily in that list. And that's the crew, man. We try our best every week to give you guys interesting and thought-provoking content. If you enjoy this show, as well as the others, please support us all on social media. Give us a like on all the various platforms. Subscribe to our podcasts. And it just makes the world a better place. Furthermore, if you want to provide more support to Everything Went Black, you can join the Patreon. And that is for as little as $1 a month. You get access to the bonus material. For $5 a month, you get early access to the regular episodes plus the bonus material. And for $25 a month, you can become a sponsor. And all those particulars are outlined on the Patreon entry for Everything Went Black. And now we're going to get into goals for 2024, which, I realize this might not be an episode for everybody, but if you're a diehard EWB listener, this is for you. So first and foremost, I just want to talk about decision making. It's not really a goal, but I guess the goal is to get better at making decisions in life. And recently, a challenging experience happened, which I turned into a learning experience. And this has to do with some professional decisions I made dating back to September of last year, and is ending probably. This is going to come out the week after this episode airs. Will be the wrap up of that excursion, professional excursion. I have a short list of people who I really look up to for a variety of reasons. And these people, I seek their approval. And sometimes I seek their approval to the detriment of my own well-being. And this last few months have been kind of an exploration into that realm. And without going into too much detail, a former boss and mentor of mine approached me about going to work for a different firm. And we've all worked together for, at this stage, probably close to 20 years between the company that I work for, or I'm going to back to work for, and this other organization. It's the same people. We kind of switch around, and stay in touch with each other and that sort of thing. It probably wasn't the best move for me to move over there. I left my other position, took up this other one for, I'm not going to lie, a pretty substantial bump in pay. And when I talked to, the company that I was leaving, they said, well, if that was all it was, we would have been willing to work with you on that number. Nonetheless, I had made up in my mind that I wanted to move on. Maybe sold myself some ideas that weren't exactly true. Maybe there was a little bit of misleading by some people on the other side. And so anyway, I find myself in the middle of this thing. And right quick, I realized this wasn't really the place for me. But I hung in there, trying to convince myself that, no, this is great. This is fine. It's going to work out. Everything's good. But slowly, I started realizing that this was a really bad decision. Nothing against this organization, but just as a personal fit for me, it was not the right place. Excuse me for taking a sip of water here from my water bottle. Throughout the last few months, I was trying to convince myself to make myself stay, thinking like, well, you persevere. That's what I do. I'll persevere. I'll push through. But all along, my body internally was giving me the right signals that this was not the right place for me. The stress over the holidays, the stress embodying itself physically. Waking up in the middle of the night at like 2:30 in the morning, thinking about the coming day and dreading those moments of embarking on the workload for the day. Not that the workload itself is something I'm against. I like working hard. I like having a lot of responsibility. However, the culture of the office itself was not aligned with the way that I like to do my job. So that was a huge, part of it. Nightmares. I've had at least 3 nightmares about work. Never had that before, ever in my life. One evening, I woke up at probably 3 o'clock in the morning and leapt out of bed. And my girlfriend, Tina, was like, where are you going? I'm like, I have to go. I got to check this thing that I did on this other thing, and I'm leaving. And she's like, get back in bed. You're out of your mind. So calm down. Went back to bed. Still couldn't really sleep. woke up at 5, which is my normal time usually of waking up, and I rolled. And sure enough, this anxiety was for no reason at all. I had done all the things I was supposed to do, and everything was fine. But nonetheless, this constant feeling that this was not the right place for me was manifesting. And a couple weeks ago, one day I woke up, I got the wrong message from the wrong person, and I realized, like, you know what? The hell with all this. I am gonna quit. I'm out. So got back in touch with my former people. Sure enough, I was fortunate enough for them to be open to me coming back, and I discussed my terms, and all of my terms were met, and yeah, so I moved on, and I start this new old job after I returned from tour in March, and my final day at my current job is just a little under 2 weeks from now. I'll be wrapping things up. So yeah, lessons learned, man. Lessons learned is that the grass is not always greener, and you should pay attention to these things and maybe make a list of pros and cons and just do it numerically. Which column is bigger? And just go with that decision. And in the past, I've been guilty of leaping headlong into things without much thought, and then suffering the consequences. In general, I've been a lot better at that. I've been a lot more intentional and thoughtful about my decisions over the last few years, but sometimes you fall back into the old patterns. So that's really big learning experience. Fortunately, I was able to write this without any real impact on myself. Of course, I'm burning a bridge. My former boss, one of those guys who takes things very, very personal, and no time is good to leave a job, if you're the person who's being left. In this case, I held in there until I hit certain milestones so that I wouldn't be leaving in the thick of things, on these relatively big projects I've been working on. I mean, one project is actually very, very big and kind of a high profile endeavor. And I made sure that the milestone was met before I moved on. And nonetheless, something always suffers. You're always pissing somebody off whenever you leave somewhere. And, I'm willing to take that hit with the idea that the future is going to be better for me. And ultimately, if the wrong person is in the wrong position, you're not doing anybody any good. So you guys don't really hear me talk too much about my job or professional stuff like that, but I think this can be applied to a lot of different things in life. And I just wanted to share that with everyone. So probably my number one goal for 2024 is to work on my decision-making abilities and to be more intentional about the things that I do and consider things in the big picture before making a rash decision. I got to stay hydrated, guys. Sorry about that. With only one person talking, it's kind of hard to get away from taking sips of water. So music, as you guys know, is a huge part of my life and my identity. And 2023 was a relatively quiet year for Tombs, which is my life's work really at this point. I got another project off the ground called Begotten Sons, and there's yet another project called Scorpion Throne, which is I released something the year prior to that, and so those are the three things I have going on. But 2023 was a very introspective year for me personally, and then I guess in a way, an introspective year for the band Tombs, which, as I mentioned earlier, is my life's work. For nearly 15 years, the band has guided all of my decisions, provided my identity in a lot of ways, has been the one thing that has kept me going during really tough times. And, there have been a lot of them, a lot of really hard times over the years. And the band was the one thing to focus on to bring me out of this whole thing. And, so touring and making records has always been like the thing that I do. And 2023, we only played 4 shows total. So that's a huge departure, even from the year before, from 2022. At least we got 2 tours in. And 23, not so much. And we did spend a lot of time writing. And my intention was to have a new album out in 2024. But my estimation is that most likely it'll be 2025. I would say with 100% certainty there'll be a new record in 2025. We're not ready to record just yet. And as a result, most record labels want you to have everything at least planned out well in advance. So I project we'll be recording in the spring for a 2025 release. And this record, some of the songs on there I've been working on for over 2 years. I've shared some of that material with the Patreon members. If you go back in the Diary of a Madman episodes, you'll see there's a couple of things out there that I proposed as, these are demos for new Tomb songs. And one of those is the track from a couple of years ago, which is spiritually the center of the record. Not so much sonically, but for me personally, it's the centerpiece. The whole point of making the record is around this one particular song. And it's a nice way to close things out on that particular chapter of my life, is to release this, manifestation of all those feelings, in that time and that atmosphere. And with that said, that song has to be executed perfectly. There's no room for fucking that up. It has to be done exactly the way I want it to be done. Otherwise, this whole thing is a failure in my eyes. So that's going to be the center point of the record. That song is done, writing wise, demos, all that kind of stuff. Like the demo, we're still playing around with the demo for that song, but that's the thing. You know what I mean? The rest of the material is being worked on. One song we've been performing live. It's a track called Ghoul, and we've been playing that since the Origin tour. Actually, the tour we do at Cloak, we were playing that song too. So it's been in the repertoire of material for a while now, and so that's also going to be on the new records. And slightly different tuning than what you guys might be used to hearing. And then the rest of the stuff is still in process, man. I think on the new Tombs record, there's going to be a little bit for everybody. There's going to be some mid-tempo songs, some real heavy, emotional tracks on there, some really fast rippers, I think we're going to explore all aspects of the band's abilities on the new record. And lyrically, I'm digging really deep and working through a lot of stuff in the lyrics. So that's, I feel like it might be, I know I'd like to think every record is our best record, but this, I think creatively for me as an individual, this might be the single most proudest thing that I've been working on. So I'm looking forward to getting this thing underway. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, the tour with Profanatica kind of, sidetracked us a little bit from working on the album, but the tour is going to be great. I welcome being out on the road again. And I wish it was longer. I wish it was the entire U.S. We're only hitting really the East. So, and parts of Canada. We're returning to Montreal, a city I love. That's an incredible city. We're kicking things off in Providence, Rhode Island, another great city. Playing in Boston, which is, used to be my home back in the 90s, and tons of friends up there. So that should be great. Just finally play Boston again after many years. And, the tour wraps up in New York, in Brooklyn. So it won't be a case of traveling across the country to start the tour and then driving 2 days to get home, which we've done quite a bit over the last couple of years. Started tours like halfway across the country. And this is a nice, short, sweet run. And I'm looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be great. And hopefully I get to see some of you guys out there. And like I said, feel free, if I don't know you personally or by sight, absolutely come up and say hello. we'll hang out, talk, do that kind of thing. So I'm stoked to hang out with any of you guys out there. So with that, doing a Tombs record requires some kind of planning, and certain elements have to be in place. You can't just like record it and then go for it and put it out. But Begotten Sons and Scorpion Throne, they're independently released projects. I can record them and literally the next day have them out to you guys or anyone who wants to listen to it, assuming everyone here wants to check it out. So that stuff's going to come out, going to be recorded and released this year. Looking at the summertime for a new Begotten Sons EP. Likewise for Scorpion Throne, maybe in the fall. I want to space those out a little bit. And going to develop those things more. And I think that Begotten Sons is going to become like a bigger part of my creative output. There just seems to be so much freedom to do work with that project. And Brian is like always down to do stuff, and I'm looking forward to that. And Scorpion Throne also is going to expand, and I think the newer batch of material that I'm working on is, I'm not going to say optimistic, but it's a little bit more uplifting than the first 4 songs, which were composed and developed during the dark years that I just concluded. And that's not something I want to really revisit again, that material, and for obvious reasons. But the newer stuff is going to be really cool, and I'm stoked to be working again with Andrew and Mike G, and it's a friends thing. You know what I mean? Now, since we're on the podcast now, let's talk about some podcasting goals. Over the last month and coming into the first part of the year, the first month of the year, I've been a little bit lax on the Patreon material, and I'm going to be changing that ASAP. So when I get back from tour, there's going to be a concerted effort to really start getting back to producing exclusive material for Patreon. And I appreciate everyone who's hung in there, and I appreciate the support, and I really enjoy having that connection with everybody on that platform. So I'm going to get back to putting out regular stuff. The Friday staff picks thing is going to morph more into like a Friday hangout kind of thing, like a Friday weekend review, or just, definitely going to talk about records and movies and stuff, but it's going to be more of like a what's up kind of thing. I might change it. I'm going to change it from staff picks, which initially started out as a concept for Necromaniacs, into like a thank God it's Friday kind of thing, or like a Friday hangout, or I don't know. I'll come up with a cool title for that. And then we're going to get back to doing Long Shadows and Hollywood Babylon and, all that kind of esoterica that we've been doing, and some new things too, some new ideas, some new projects. Also going to do maybe, if not a monthly live hangout, but maybe one or every other month, to just like a Zoom call with everyone. We'll have to pick out a time because, there's people from all over the country and Europe and whatnot, and we have to pick out a time frame that works for everyone and just do like a live hangout, a live session of just checking in with everybody. And I've wanted to do that since I started Patreon, and I just haven't figured out the best way. And some of the Patreon shows that I support, I see them doing it, and it looks really fun. So I just think that would be excellent to connect with everyone and expand and, give more of a communal element to the Patreon experience. And then I want to start expanding Everything Went Black just beyond just a podcast. I want to do more of, publishing hard copies of things, actual tactile media, books, things like that. Way back in the beginning of the podcast, I had this notion of producing little documentaries and docuseries, and that's something I want to get back to. And also the Instagram pizza reviews, which I do with Tina. You guys all seem to like that, so I'm going to do more of that kind of stuff, more fun food reviews, because that's something that we love doing, the two of us. We like going out eating pizza, and there's tons of great spots around here, and it's just fun. It's fun to do that. So yeah, there'll be more of those IG stories, reels kind of thing going on as well. Yeah, and just try to keep the content interesting and fun, and offer more to everybody. As far as writing goes, that's the next topic here. A couple of different things going on. But you guys probably know that I fancy myself this half-assed man of letters, writer sort of person. So I have completed the first 4 short stories of a collection that I'm working on. And by the end of this year, I want to have another 4 complete. Now, depending on what the page count is, what the word count is, with 8 stories, I at least want to get them done. So I'll have a total of 8 short stories, and most likely produce them in like a chapbook form. And that would be something that I release through the Everything Went Black media company, and maybe I'll do audio versions of them too. There'll be ways to get it through Patreon, either for free or as some sort of, depending on what the cost is for producing a hard copy of that, at some heavy discount, because remember, you guys do pay. So I want to provide some kind of relief to that, some acknowledgement of that, so that's like fiction writing goals for 2024. As far as I've been working, if anyone has been listening to Necromaniacs, you might have heard me mention the Necromaniacs Guide to the New Millennium, which is going to give a look back on the first 25 years in horror movies and horror fiction, I guess, too. Actually, mostly it's movies that I'm focusing on. More water. But of course, there will be mention of literature, too. So what is the Necromaniacs Guide to the New Millennium? It's basically that, a rundown of the different types of films that came out in the last 25 years, because it's going to cut off at 2025, and broken down into sort of movements, I guess, because everyone has written ad nauseum about the classics of Halloween, John Carpenter, Night of the Living Dead, Dario Argento, Giallo films, like all that stuff has been beaten to death, basically. So I think since we're 25 years into the 21st century, I'd like to focus a book on the 21st century. Maybe there definitely will be a sort of the first chapter kind of running down the late 90s, because I think a lot of what happened in the late 90s informs the changes of the 21st century's horror films. I'll mention 2 things. The sort of ironic fourth wall breaking movies like Scream, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, and that sort of send up of some of our favorite things. I'm not a fan of those, but I think that's important to mention those things. And then the New French Extremity, which started in the late 90s and then rolled into the 21st century with incredible films, such as Inside, Martyrs, Trouble Every Day, like things like that. And running down those, there's already been a book written about the New French Extremity, which is incredible if you guys want to check that out. And so there'll be European horror, the found footage, which was a huge thing in the early part of the 21st century. The VHS series, of course, giving credit to the Blair Witch Project and Cannibal Holocaust, which are like the, progenitors of found footage, that sort of stuff. And then some of the high points of the filmmakers, Ty West, Benson and Henderson, the Addams Family, of course, are going to be mentioned in there. the rise of new folk horror, the return of slashers like Terrifier, and even John Adams from Thanksgiving. I think that is an important thing to mention too. So it's going to be focused on all stuff that's happened in the last 25 years, and just you can use it as a guide to movies to check out, or you can just read about the essays I've been writing about some of these movements. So that's something to keep an eye out. Now, some of these essays and things are going to appear on the Patreon as standalone sort of chapters. They're going to be different than the ones that are in the book because obviously they have to be edited, but these will be the kind of beta versions of those sections of the book pre-editing. So the kernel of the idea will still be there, but there'll be edits made for brevity to be included in a larger piece, like a book. Because I can't roll out some 2,000 page tome of information. It's got to be marketable. So that's like the writing front. Trying to stay busy doing all that stuff. Martial arts and fitness. There's some goals I have as well for 2024. Just on an overall fitness, I want to be able to do 15 pull-ups. I could do about 8 right now. I'm a heavier sort of guy. When you get to be above 185, it's 185 pounds. That is. It's a little bit challenging to do pull-ups. So I'm weighing in about 210 right now. So doing pull-ups is a little bit hard, but I want to get up to doing 15 consecutive pull-ups. I also want to be able to do 100 consecutive push-ups. I can do 50 consecutive push-ups right now. So that's that's been an ongoing goal for me, is to knock out 100 in one shot. And then martial arts wise, at the gym I'm at, Spida Muay Thai, there's a hierarchy, a rank system there, which is unusual in Muay Thai. Muay Thai, usually you just show up and you just rock and roll. That's it. But Spida has a setup there similar to the belt system in like jiu-jitsu or other martial arts. And so there's like, white shorts, which are beginners, yellow, the next step. There's blue, which is like the beginning of like intermediate. There's purple, red, and black. And black is like, there's only like 2 guys in the gym that have black shorts, and they're instructors. And it's not even, getting black shorts isn't even about how good you are at Muay Thai. It's about your ability to teach and embody the way of the martial arts, as opposed to how technical you are or how much good your conditioning is. Or that's a factor, of course, but you have to understand those things, but also just your ability to teach people and embody that way of martial arts. So my goal for 2024 is to achieve the red shorts rank, which probably is the highest I think I'll ever be able to go in this system. I don't see myself as being any kind of instructor or anything like that. And currently I'm at purple, which I just went through all the grades there. So where purple is. So purple, then red. And apparently we have tests. So the tests are very difficult, and I can only imagine what the test for red shorts is. No one knows what they are until you actually do it. So it's not like, oh yeah, it's this. I know the purple test was very, very brutal and hard, and I can't even imagine what the red's going to be like, but I think I'm up for it this year. And, Muay Thai has been a huge part of my life for a while now, over probably 13, 14 years maybe. And, yeah, about that, actually, looking back, 15 years. And never had a grading system like this or a rank system. So it's cool to to have goals and be acknowledged and that sort of stuff, So yeah, that's the martial arts and fitness aspect of my goals. As far as reading, and love reading, of course, and just going to run down some of the TBRs that I have here and some of my goals for that. Going into the new year, I wanted to get into the work of William Hope Hodgson, which is He's an old style, old school weird fiction cosmic horror writer, predated Lovecraft. And I've read so far. I have two main pieces that I wanted to read. One's House at the Borderland, and the other one is The Nightland. And there are two pieces that I think are spiritually connected. It's not so much that they're sequels or anything like that, but there feels like there's a thin line connecting those two pieces. And I already read House of the Borderlands, done, finished, and I'm about halfway through The Nightland, and I cannot say enough good things about The Nightland and House on the Borderland. If you enjoy cosmic horror and weird fiction and Lovecraftian stories, these two things are must reads. The Nightland is a little bit more challenging to read. It's like reading Milton's Paradise Lost in some ways. There's like a very Baroque style to the writing. You have to pay attention to everything, because it doesn't quite flow the way modern prose would flow. So you got to pay attention a little bit differently. Hydration. Also, a couple years ago, I bought the collection of the Solomon Kane stories that Robert E. Howard wrote, and I have not read all of them. So this year, I'm going to read the entire collection and knock out the Solomon Kane stories. I've read all the Conan stories. I've read all the Cult stories. The Cormac McCart, read all those. And Solomon Kane. Bran McMorn, I've read all those. The Solomon Kane stories are incomplete in my catalog of Robert E. Howard greatness. So I need to knock that out. So, at least I can say that I've read all of his major characters. The next three are recommendations by people that I have a very high regard for. The first is the First Law trilogy, which is by Joe Abercrombie, and that's recommended to me by the great Selden Hunt, the famous artist. And it's a sword and sorcery, epic fantasy kind of thing. I purchased it. I have a nice box set that's on my shelf waiting for me to crack open, and I'm looking forward to getting into that. I'm probably going to jump right into that after I finish reading The Nightlands. Carl Hikara, my brother from Saul Knox and my collaborator with Darkness Weaves, has recommended the Sherlock Holmes stories. So I'm going to start reading those this year. That's another goal, another reading goal. And the third is not by someone I know, but it comes by way of the Cosmic Chronicles podcast. And it's another series called The Three Body Problem by Cixin Liu. And apparently this is going to be made into a series. So I'm intrigued. It's one of these doomsday apocalyptic sci-fi epics, and I am looking forward to getting into it. I haven't ordered it yet, but it's in my inbox or my cart for Amazon. And of course, throughout all of these things, there'll be other pieces of literature that I'm going to be reading. Tons of stuff. I'm always trying to read more philosophy, more Schopenhauer. That kind of stuff is going to be sprinkled in there as well. And but these are the main things I want to knock out in 2024. And then personal growth. 2023 was a transformative year for me in a lot of ways, in many ways. And I want to continue that trajectory of personal growth and improvement. And I'm not talking about working harder, making more money, doing more pull-ups, or putting out more records or playing more shows or anything which I typically have measured success by. But going inward and growing as a person and being more of a son to my parents and a partner to my partner, Tina, and to be more committed to successful relationships and things like that, being a better friend to my friends. My life has been largely dedicated to self-absorption, which there's numerous reasons why that has been a case for me, which I can write a whole book on that, I guess. But I have turned a corner, and I want to invite in the world. For many decades, I lived this very singular life where there was just the tasks ahead of me that defined who I was, and I just tired of living that way. And my take on everything is just trying to like move towards a better lifestyle, because that lifestyle did not work. As much as I tried, banged my head against the wall, pushed myself, at the end of the day, I always ended up alone, unhappy, and depressed. And I went through some very, very difficult times. This time last year, this time a year ago, bleak, darkness, living at the bottom of a well. And now things are on the diametric end of that, completely different. And so that's kind of like my take on the whole thing, And so 2024, looking forward to getting really into it. Start grinding on all these things, and we'll check in at the end of the year and see how far we got. And I like everyone to take all this stuff to heart, maybe apply some of these concepts to your own life. And and it's nice to have this outlet to talk and express myself. And communication is key. And if anyone wants to hit me up, if you're on Patreon, you guys know where to find me. Just use the Patreon Messenger. If you're not on Patreon, you can hit me up. I guess Instagram Messenger is probably the best way, since I don't really go on Facebook. I'm probably going to change that in the coming months. I'm probably going to go back on Facebook a little bit more, mainly just because I feel like promoting things. I've been a little bit remiss on that over the last 6-7 months maybe, but now I think it's time to pay more attention to that platform. But Instagram, if you guys want to hit me up on that. And there you go. So everyone, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's living strong and moving forward with their goals and their lives. And I'll talk to you guys next week. We've got a really cool guest in store for next week. And so another, once again, old friend, good guy. And I like to check in with him every couple months too. So you guys take care, and we'll talk to you next week.